A masked killer stalked the shadows of Texarkana, and more than 70 years later, no one knows who he was. The spring of 1946 did not begin with fear. It began like any other season in a quiet border town where people worked, socialized, listened to music on radios in their living rooms, and spent warm evenings outside beneath the soft hum of crickets and distant road noise. Texarkana was a place where people believed danger existed somewhere else, always far away, never just beyond the tree line, never sitting silently in the dark waiting for the right moment to move. But that illusion shattered slowly, night by night, step by step, as the town would soon learn that the shadows had been watching far longer than anyone imagined. It began on a road that led just outside the city limits, a stretch of gravel and dirt where young couples went to talk, to escape the noise of town life, to sit beneath the open sky where headlights were rarely seen and the world felt quiet and harmless. That night, two people thought they were alone. They believed that silence meant safety. But then the stillness changed. Headlights appeared from behind them, bright and sudden, cutting across the darkness like an intrusion, like something that did not belong. The car slowed, then stopped, and the quiet felt heavier, thicker, as though the world itself was holding its breath. The masked figure emerged, not rushing, not stumbling, not frantic, but calm, deliberate, controlled, his movements precise, almost rehearsed. The mask was simple, primitive, unsettling, fabric with rough eye holes that turned a human face into something unknowable. The survivor descriptions would later repeat the same details, as though they were describing a shape rather than a person. Someone who chose to be anonymous not only in identity but in emotion. He said little. He showed nothing. And in that silence, there was something far more terrifying than anger. There was purpose. Police took the first report seriously, but at first the town tried to believe it was an isolated act, an unfortunate encounter, something that could be explained, categorized, filed, and eventually forgotten. But the pattern did not dissolve. Instead it grew. Days later, another night, another secluded stretch of road, another pair of unsuspecting victims who thought the darkness belonged to them. And once again the same precision, the same calculated behavior, the same atmosphere of control. The investigators soon realized they were not looking at random violence. They were not staring into the chaos of impulse or desperation. They were confronting a presence that studied, that observed, that knew when to strike and when to disappear. The phantom killer, as he would come to be called, did not attack recklessly. He chose his locations with care, his timing with patience, his movements with discipline. Each scene looked less like a crime of chance and more like a rehearsed event. The community shifted from unease to fear. Doors that had once been left unlocked were bolted shut. Windows that had always been left open for night air were sealed tight. Couples stopped visiting the outskirts of town. People avoided the darkness. Conversations in diners and shops carried the same hushed uncertainty, the same question that no one wanted to speak aloud. Was he watching right now? Was he someone they passed in the street, someone who blended into crowds, someone who looked ordinary in daylight and became something else entirely after sunset? Survivor testimonies painted a picture that never seemed to change. A tall figure, lean, composed, not rushed, not frantic, moving as if time belonged to him and the night bowed to his presence. His silence was not hesitation, it was intention. Witnesses described how he seemed immune to stress, unaffected by the fear he created, distant, detached, and completely in control of every second that unfolded. It was this unnatural calm that unsettled investigators the most. Whoever the phantom was, he did not behave like someone unprepared. He behaved like someone fulfilling a role. Police began compiling behavioral profiles. They studied military records and employment logs. They traced individuals who possessed familiarity with weapons, strategy, or rural terrain. They compared psychological markers, patterns of conduct, and personal histories. Suspects emerged, one after another, and each seemed promising at first. Yet every lead dissolved under scrutiny, as if the truth was always just out of reach, as if the killer existed in the narrow space between suspicion and certainty. The fear grew into something structural, something woven into the town's daily rhythm. Night patrols expanded, search teams formed, federal resources were eventually involved. Bloodhounds traced paths through dense woodland. Officers swept trails, back roads, abandoned structures and nearby farms. Aircraft scanned from above, while rumors and whispered theories spread below. Still, there was no confrontation, no cornered suspect, no final pursuit under lantern light or gunfire. Instead, the phantom vanished into silence every time, not escaping in panic, but withdrawing in the same controlled manner he appeared. The attacks continued long enough to shape identity, to leave scars on the collective memory of Texarkana. And then, without warning, without confession, without arrest, they stopped. No final act, no dramatic ending. Just stillness, as if the phantom had completed whatever purpose he believed he had. The town was left to breathe again, but that breath carried the weight of unanswered questions. Years passed. Generations changed. Yet the story never faded. In historical reports, archived police files, recorded interviews, and aging news articles, the presence of the phantom remained. Retired officers described the same unsettling reality, that they had chased something intangible, someone who felt less like a criminal and more like a shadow stitched into the fabric of the night. Residents passed the memory forward, not as legend, not as myth, but as a truth that once walked their streets and watched from the tree line. Some believed he was a local figure, a familiar face who blended into public life by day and retreated into darkness by night, someone whose ordinary existence concealed extraordinary danger. Others believed he was a drifter, an outsider who arrived, acted, and disappeared across state lines, leaving only fear behind. And many could not shake the feeling that he had always been there, not intruding from elsewhere but emerging from the town itself. The case remains unresolved. No confession ever surfaced. No deathbed admission, no private letter, no hidden journal, no final clue buried in an attic trunk or forgotten drawer. The phantom killer existed in time, documented, reported, witnessed, yet his identity dissolved beyond reach, preserved only in silence. The fear he planted did not fade with years. It became memory, history, atmosphere. It became the way the town looks at the night. Texarkana still remembers. Not as a story meant to frighten children, not as a tale told for drama or spectacle, but as an event that shaped how people understood danger, trust, and the fragility of safety. The phantom walked among them, watched them, chose his moments, then vanished into the same darkness that first revealed him. And after all the investigations, theories, interviews, accusations, denials, and endless speculation, one truth remains unbroken. No one knows who he was. If you enjoy real historical mysteries, true unsolved investigations, and carefully documented cases like this, stay with us. There are many more stories from the past waiting to be uncovered. And if this story kept you watching until the end, consider leaving a like and subscribing. It helps a lot and keeps the channel growing.